Welcome back, everybody. Please settle down, everyone. We heard Justin talk this morning about Amplitude's move into marketing analytics. And this is something that I'm excited about. I was just talking to our last speaker, Tim Love from Burger King UK, about how marketing and product have similar problems, but different language and different ways that they think about it. And we know that marketing has some of the same challenges because they're often limited to the same vanity metrics like page views and click rates and want something far more sophisticated. Our next speaker literally wrote the book on digital marketing analytics. He was at Adobe for years but realized the internet is changing and analytics needed to as well. So that's why he joined Amplitude last fall. Please give a warm welcome to the one, the only, Adam Greco.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me good? Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Adam Greco. I have been dreaming of this session ever since I joined Amplitude because there's so much goodness that we're going to share with you today. I am a digital marketer at heart. Before we dive in, we're going to say some things. We're going to show you some things here that aren't officially done yet. We're going to give you some sneak peeks. So this is all the legalese. You can consult that all you want, and so on. So here we go. So my name is Adam Greco. Just my background, I have been doing digital analytics and marketing for years. I was one of the early employees at Omniture. I've been through about 1,000 digital marketing analytics implementations. I also worked at Salesforce.com where I was a customer, where I actually did marketing analytics as well. Now I'm going to be joined today by Patrick Hillery. Patrick is going to come up later and do a demo. So I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can so there's some actual time to do a real demo. And for those in the back, there's a clock here. If they could start the clock so I make sure I don't go too far over, that'd be awesome. And anyway, so that's what we're going to do. So in this session, we are talking about marketing analytics. We're going to say, why are we in marketing analytics? Why are we even thinking about this? 2, we're going to talk about what you can do today in Amplitude if you're a marketer, which I will admit is not a ton, but we're going to really change that today. And then we're going to share some of the new things. If you were in the keynote today, Justin Bauer he just touched upon some of the things we're going to do. But as we say in this industry, today we're going to double click on that. And we're going to go into a lot more detail into that. And then I'm going to go as quick as I can so Patrick can give a demo for you. So let's start. Why the heck are we talking about marketing analytics when we are at Amplitude and we are the #1 product analytics vendor in the marketplace? Well, you know, Amplitude has done an amazing job with product analytics. But one of the things that I wanted to do when I joined is like, there's got to be more, and how can the marketers and product people join together? So I'm going to start this with a real life story. When I worked at Salesforce.com, my mission was to do marketing analytics, and we actually had a form on our website, the free trial form. Any of you who are B2B will kind of know this. And my mission was to use marketing analytics to figure out what was the best cost per lead. Was it paid search, email, SEO, all these things? And we spent all of our time, and our North Star metric was cost per lead. In many cases, we were actually ahead of the product-led movement because we were doing product-led growth back in 2010. But the minute that someone filled out a form at Salesforce to do a free trial, I was out. I was done. They were now in the product experience, and as much as I tried, they would not let me put my marketing analytics product within the product experience. So I had no visibility into what happened once they were in the product. Now, the product team, they had their own North Star metric, which was how many people started the free trial and ultimately became customers. So we both had data, we both had our North Star metrics, they were just completely different, and the product and marketing groups completely didn't interact with each other. Now, the problem that happened with that is that there were a number of things that we realized after the fact, when I look back at that experience. The first thing is, what if the product team would have known that some particular person came to us through a Google ad, and that Google ad was for the search term customer service? Now, at the time, Salesforce's main product was sales and sales CRM. So no matter what you filled out on that free trial form, you ended up in the sales product. But if you search for customer service, even though we had a customer service product, you still would see the sales product. But think about if they could have actually known that, and we could have dropped them into the correct product experience. The second thing is if someone was in the free trial and they disengaged, they stopped using the free trial, there was no way the product team could do anything about that. They were dealing with thousands of people in the free trial, and they could not re-engage them in any capacity. But I was in the marketing group, and what do marketers do best? We spam people. We love to email people and market to them and get them back. If I would have found out who was sloughing off in the free trial, I could have actually pinged them and gotten them back, but we didn't do that. Now, the other thing that's interesting is in the product world, they actually could see which features were leading people to ultimately convert and become customers. And if I would have known that as a marketer, I would have changed my ads, my campaigns, my content to really focus on the features that are ultimately leading to conversion, but I had no idea which features were leading to conversion. And then lastly, I never found out which customers and which people, prospects in the free trial ended up being customers. If I could have connected that to the marketing campaign, the marketing channels that brought them, I could have doubled down on the campaigns and the channels that were actually working and taken money out of the tourist channels where people were just coming to play around in our free trial. So these are some of the things that happened in 2010, and back then, we still were in this world where product and marketing weren't collaborating. Now, unfortunately, we're now in, 2022, things haven't gotten much better, unfortunately. John Cutler, who many of you know is a product evangelist with me, he has a huge product following. I have a pretty big marketing following, and we actually did, just as a test on LinkedIn, the same exact question to our two different audiences. And one side note, when I first joined Amplitude, I compared my LinkedIn network to John Cutler. I have 18,000 connections. He has like 80,000 connections. We had 85 people as mutual connections, which is a bad sign that product and marketing teams aren't working together. But this survey was really interesting in that our both groups basically said, hey, we don't like each other. We don't work together. And what happens in this situation when two groups don't collaborate, they end up going in different directions. And the most prevalent use case of this is what I call the argument between what analytics product we should use. Now, I'm a marketer, so I spent most of my life kind of in the Google and Adobe Analytics world. But then you've got product teams who really like products like Amplitude. And what's interesting is we see this push and pull where product teams are saying to their marketers, hey, we shouldn't use two products. Why don't you use my product analytics tool? And then the marketers are saying, hey, we have a marketing analytics product. Can we just use Google Analytics in our product? And they're like, heck no. But basically, you end up with this fight between these two groups, and it ends up in a stalemate. And many of you, I'm not going to ask you to raise hands and embarrass yourself, but I guarantee you there are people in this room that are using two different digital analytics products, one for marketing, one for product. Well, what's the downside of that? Well, first of all, you now are splitting up your customers into two different analytics products. So you don't actually know everything about the customer. You're not building a full customer profile. Second of all, if you want to build a segment or a cohort based on activity that happens on maybe the website or in the marketing side, in the app or the product side, you can't really build a cohort using all of that data unless you take all that data out, put it into a warehouse, and do cohorts there. And that means it's more money, more time, and you can't act on it right away. Same thing, you can't personalize to your customers. And for example, let's say someone came to a website and that website uses Google Analytics and they see that they're interested in product category, shoes. Well, then that person goes to the mobile app. It's very likely that person is not going to see anything personalized to what they did in the website because they're using two different products. The other thing that's really important these days is everyone's talking about customer journeys. We all want to see kind of from acquisition to retention, what are people doing? What are the paths they're taking? Where are we losing them? That becomes difficult if your journey is split between two different analytics products. You also have to teach your users how to actually learn two different analytics products if there's any overlap. And my worst thing of all, I'm sure some of you have experienced this. Imagine a situation where you have a metric or a property that overlaps between two of your analytics products. I guarantee you will spend more time arguing with your coworkers about which number is right within the two analytics products than you will actually using the data to improve your digital experiences and your digital products. And I didn't add this here, but it's also implied. Who wants to pay for two analytics products? If you can combine this, you can get some economies of scale. So those are some of the issues, and that's why we are so excited at Amplitude, because we want to be the first vendor that can really bring marketing and product together. We are tired of organizations having bad customer experiences, mainly because we're shipping our org chart instead of shipping good products. Your customer does not care if certain people are in the marketing department and the product department. They want to come to your digital products and have one holistic, cohesive experience, and we are just shooting ourselves in the foot by having these different products. And that's what we're trying to do. But we realize that you going all in on Amplitude is not an easy ask, because we have to be able to provide the functionality that you need to tackle not only the product use cases that we are awesome at and that we nail, but also the marketing use cases. So today, we went and looked how many marketers are actually using Amplitude, and we were surprised, as Justin said this morning, that it's our third largest persona. You know, we have a decent amount of marketers, and we don't make it very easy for marketers today, if I'm being completely honest. So what I wanted to start with is, what could you do today? And then we're going to kind of kick it up a notch with what you're going to be able to do in the future. So today in Amplitude, you've always been able to capture campaign codes, and you could take UTM codes, whatever you use, and stick it into a property, user property, and you can then treat it like any other property in Amplitude. You could trend it over time, see how different actions are taking place from people who came from those campaigns. Pretty basic. Now, if you wanted to get to the next level and say, what are the different channels that people are coming from? This is honestly a little bit of a pain in the ass today. You have to build a bunch of different cohorts, and then you've got to keep them updated, and it's not super easy. You can do it, but it's not trivial. Now, whether you're using UTM codes or channels, once you've done this, the cool part in Amplitude is then you can use it like any other property. So here, I'm looking at a conversion funnel, and I might want to look at my funnel split out by a couple of my different marketing channels or marketing campaigns. But this is basically the extent of what you could do in Amplitude today with marketing. So now, let's get into more detail of what you're now going to be able to do, what we just released today. And Justin touched upon this a little bit, but we're going to dig much deeper. So first one we're going to talk about is acquisition channels. Now, whether you're a website or an app, everyone wants to know, how am I finding these people? Are they coming from paid search, SEO, and so on? So what we are now releasing is a brand new tool that allows you to basically build acquisition channels right within Amplitude. Now, this is something an administrator will do, but as you see on the screen behind me, we give you the ability to take any property or properties that you're using today, and you could set up a hierarchy of rules. And this will basically look at every session, every event that comes through, and basically say, I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. Now, what's really cool about this is you're not limited to just one. You could have like a high-level channels. You could have sub-channels. You could have as many of these as you want, and you can make these as complex as you want. And the coolest part about this, which is something that not even the marketing analytics vendors can often do, is we have made this retroactive. So if you forget something, it's not like you have one shot to get this right. If you miss something, you just add it, and in runtime, you will be able to see all of the correct channels for all of this. So this is a really big step for us, and it gets us to the point that after you have completed this, you now can use these acquisition channels just like any other property in Amplitude. So behind me here, you see that I'm using an event segmentation report, but I now have a new derived property in Amplitude called acquisition channels, and you can name it whatever you want, and I can now filter and do a where clause within my segmentation report based on acquisition channel. And you get to pick what channels you want. We are going to give you some defaults as a way to get started, but you can customize that any way you want. Now, the other thing you can do is you can use this in all reports. So here I'm looking at a bar chart that I'm trending by channel, and this could be for uniques, it could be for any event that you want, and a stacked bar chart by your marketing channels, which is really easy. You don't have to worry about all of the cohorts that you have to do today. Let's look at a couple other examples. Maybe I want to do user composition. So here I've mocked up that I want to look at people who completed a lead form and another cohort of users who did not complete a lead form, and I want to split that by my marketing channels, just like you can do with other properties in Amplitude. Now, my favorite thing is I love cohorts, and now you have the ability to use acquisition channels in your cohorts. So just for fun, I made a fake one here where I said, I want to look at all people in the last 30 days who came from paid search, but I want to exclude people who I've already spammed via email. So you can build that cohort, you could use it for personalization, experiment, send it out to one of our partners like Braze, Iterable, whatever you want. So hopefully you'll see that acquisition channels that used to be difficult is now a piece of cake to do in Amplitude, and you can customize it any way you want. Now let's talk about data tables. Now, data tables isn't necessarily a marketing feature, but marketers have been using Excel and now analytics products for years to look at multiple metrics at one time, multiple properties at one time. So there's certain things that marketers need that are empowered by having this concept of data tables. And in Amplitude, we pride ourselves that our charts and reports are always pretty easy to use, easy to learn, but sometimes they haven't been as flexible as they could be. So with data tables, we are now adding this new type of report, and you basically have the ability to add an unlimited number of metrics and an unlimited number of properties, and you can break down those properties. So here I'm showing that I'm doing a really basic table. I'm looking at blog posts viewed, lead form completed by that new acquisition channel that we just talked about. So again, really easy. This is stuff that, again, you've probably done in the Adobes, the Googles of the world, but now you can do this right in Amplitude. And these tables can be used, by the way, in anything in Amplitude. I'm just showing it today in a marketing context. Now, if you want to go a little deeper, you can break down that table, one property by another property. Here, I went a little crazy. Not only did I break down one property, the channel, by the UTM campaign code, I also decided to filter, because you can filter any of the properties within the tables as well. So I filtered based on a search phrase, and now I'm just looking at UTM codes that have search, AMER, US, and so on. So cool ability to break down by unlimited number of properties. Now, if you're not kind of a cascading person, if you want more of a flat view of your data, that's cool, we got you covered. You can do multiple group bys within the table. So here, I might want to look at my UTM campaign and then group by country, region, city, and so on. And now I've got kind of a flatter view of my data that I can then export and play around with. Now, another thing that we hear a lot is when I'm looking at the data in a table, what if I want to visualize that? Well, you can click on any number within the table, and you can, first of all, export, but the cool thing is that you can then open as a chart. So you just say, hey, I'm curious about the 6,445 completed purchases that happen in the fall holiday campaign when someone was in the United States, when they were in California, and they were in San Francisco. I just click open as a chart, and boom, I'm now in a normal report that you know and love. And what's cool is you see that all of the events and all of the properties have been carried with me. So I basically can keep moving and working in my analysis. Now, you can always compare date ranges because we know that you're going to want to look at 1 month versus another month. That's kind of basic, but just showing you that you can do that. And where we really kind of dug in is you're going to want to compare cohorts. So you're going to want to take metrics and events, and you're going to want to look at it for different groups of users. So here I'm just showing a really basic one where I'm looking at my blog post views and lead completed we saw before, but now I can split it between Apple, iOS, and Android. And you can take any of the cohorts you have and add them. So hopefully you'll see that these tables are going to make it really easy for marketers to kind of slice and dice. And as I mentioned before, you could use these tables anywhere in Amplitude. Now, one of the things that we needed to do tables for is the next thing we're going to cover, which is attribution. So marketers have always cared about attribution. They want to know kind of what's happening if they come from multiple campaigns, assign different credit. Attribution is a tough thing to visualize without tables, so that was one of the precursors for tables. But we are now shipping the ability to take any property with combination with events, and you can do attribution. We give you first touch, last touch, all touch. We give you J-curve, U-curve, and you can even do your own custom attribution model. And this manifests itself in the columns of the table that we just talked about. And you could use the same metric or event side by side just to compare different attribution models. So here I'm showing lead form completed 3 times. The first time I'm doing first touch attribution. The second time I'm doing last touch attribution. And then, of course, the best attribution is the Adam attribution model, where I decided that, of course, it should be 15% credit to the first, 55 to all the ones in the middle, and 30% to the last. I mean, that's a given fact. So basically, you can now see that these are different attribution models that you can compare, and in this case, I'm combining it with the acquisition channels. Next, you can do attribution for any property whatsoever. It doesn't have to be just campaigns. Now, the last thing I want to mention is campaign data sources. So as Justin mentioned today, one of the things that people are relying on marketing analytics products is to import impressions, clicks, and cost. So we want to enable that. So we're going to make it so you can pull in your Google ads, your Facebook ads, and we're going to just keep adding all of these ad networks. So you can push this in, and you can then compare these metrics. You can see them side by side, divide them between each other. So that is a quick run through of all the new marketing features. We're just getting started, but hopefully that helps you to see how we can make your life easier for marketers. So now I'm going to hand it off to Patrick to do a quick demo.
All right, are we live? All right, so I'm Patrick, as Adam mentioned, product manager, and super excited to bring to life some of those slides that you saw. So this is a live demo, so everyone fingers crossed and toes crossed. But I'm super excited to walk through some marketing use cases for Amplitude.com. So I'm inside of our new data tables that Adam just mentioned. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our blog post viewed event, and I'm going to see which campaigns are contributing to the blog post viewed event. So I'm going to grab our UTM campaign as soon as it refreshes. Fingers crossed, toes crossed. There we go. All right. So let's go grab our UTM campaign user property. All right. And what we'll see is which campaigns are directly contributing to the blog post viewed event. And what we'll also be able to do is we'll be able to pull in different attribution models. And of course, this is going about 10 times slower than when I just demoed it about 10 minutes earlier. So awesome. All right, so no surprise, Adam Greco happens to be our highest performing campaign. Shout out to Adam. So this is cool for direct attribution, right? So which is the last campaign that's coming in? But I'm going to access a broader perspective, and I'm going to grab a participation attribution model, which attributes success to any campaign that was contributing or that happened prior to the blog post viewed within a 60-day look-back window. And you can specify any look-back window that you want. So I'll go ahead and hit save. Now this is actually calculating dynamically. This means that this will function on your existing data set, and it will function retroactively, and that you don't have to have any sort of configurations or settings that actually exist inside of your Amplitude environment. So that will come back eventually, probably a couple minutes later than I wanted it to. And let's maybe switch to a different perspective. So I've only got about a minute left, so I'm probably just going to jump to the next slide and preempt the next workflow. So let's go to our integrations. So Adam already showed you how we can now pull in ad spend, ad impression, ad click data, those things that are top of the funnel, and we can attribute them to things like your UTM source, your UTM campaign. And this gives you a broad perspective of how top-of-funnel awareness is being driven inside of Amplitude. So we can pull this data from ad networks like Facebook, like Google, and we can have this inside of your Amplitude environment. Now this is cool, but what you really want is the ability to combine what we just saw, where how campaigns are influencing events, and combine it with this top-of-funnel data. So I'm going to create a new metric, and I'm going to select the formula definition for a new metric, and I'm going to select our imported daily ad metrics, and I'm going to group by the cost property, and that will give us an aggregated cost, and then I'm going to select a page viewed event. And what I can then do is I can create a formula where I'm going to take the prop sum, which is basically the sum of all of the cost, and I'll divide it by the totals, or all of the page views. And if I can get the letter B inside of there, we'll be good. And I'll rename this metric as cost per page view, and I'll hit save. Probably won't come back, but if it does come back, it's going to show you how much per event or per page view each of these campaigns is contributing. Now this metric is representative of some of the higher value data points, things like cost per acquisition, return on ad spend, etc., all those types of data points. So this is really exciting, and we want to share this functionality with each of you here listening and each of you virtually. So if we can switch back to the slides, we actually have a QR code, and if you want to screenshot that or and fill out the form, and you can kind of connect with us, and you can have access to these pieces of functionality. So I'm going to bring up Adam back on the stage to wrap things up. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry the Wi-Fi is having issues,
Oh, there it is.
But this is the QR code, and yeah, now it showed up on his screen, but now we switch. But if any of you want to start using these features, all you have to do is fill out this Google form that and basically we'll get your name, we'll get your org, and we'll put you into the beta of these features. So I'll give one more second, but I'm going to take a picture, put your phone at that. Okay, I apologize. If you, let's do this. Adam.Greco@amplitude.com. You can blow up my inbox if you want. But I also am going to put, this is I'm going to also put up our LinkedIn profiles. But if you want to email adam.greco@amplitude.com, you can also, we'll get you into the beta or talk to your customer manager. Again, it's open for anyone who wants to join right now. So just as we wrap up, the four main things we covered, the acquisition channels, data tables, attribution, campaign data sources. There's going to be a lot more coming, but this is just where we're starting. We would love to get your feedback. If you see me around today, grab me, tell me other things that you want. If you want to connect, basically the summary is, as we kind of said in the beginning, our goal is to bring marketing and product together. Hopefully you saw just the beginnings of that today. And if you want to connect to Patrick or myself, here are QR codes to connect to us on LinkedIn. So thank you so much. Sorry for some of the technical snafus, but thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please find us. Okay, thanks so much.